Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's afternoon session of ELT Week Perú. A quick reminder that safeguarding is a priority for the British Council, so you are welcome and encouraged to share your comments and questions, making sure that you maintain respectful and positive communication, and remembering not to share any personal or sensitive information. Please note that harmful, violent, or inappropriate comments will not be tolerated, and you can report a concern through the email contact we're posting in chat or in the form you can access through the QR code we are showing now on screen. Our goal is to enrich your teaching practice and provide tools for the betterment of the education in our country. Well, after this, are you ready to learn more about designing for flow, integrating motivation, playful learning with purpose? If you do, I present you Delia, which is a dedicated professional with 17 years of experience teaching English to learners of all ages. She holds a CELTA Cambridge ESO Level 5 certification. She earned a scholarship from University of Oregon's American English Institute for the course Introduction to Pedagogy and Practices for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages and completed the Train the Trainer program. Her expertise extends to roles such as TOEFL IBT administrator, ensuring smooth test operations in compliance with ETS standards, CHOP Plus coordinator, where she led a U.S. Embassy-funded program supported underrepresented students in accessing higher education, and Open Alumni Facilitator for Kansas State University, moderating global discussions and promoting innovative teaching methods that integrate language learning with environmental awareness. Please welcome Delia.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I have been able to watch the previous presentations, and the audience is the best. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, dear colleagues from Cusco, from Arequipa, from Lima, from Mexico. That's amazing. It's super motivating for me to be reading at the same time, to be here, to be sharing this virtual place with you. All right. Well, today I want to talk about something I think every teacher has experienced, but perhaps never had a name for. We're going to talk about flow and how we can design it into every lesson we teach. All right. So I'm going to start with a question. Think about the last time you were teaching and time seemed to fly. You forget about time. Now you forgot about time. You didn't look at your clock. What was happening in that lesson? Tell me, please, in the chat, what worked well that it made you forget about the time. Okay, let me read you. Please comment in the chat. Let me know. Let me know about that last time you were teaching and time seemed to fly. Students were producing, having fun. Thank you, Mauge. They are motivated. Everyone got involved in the class. Yes, no? Like they were working together, collaborating with each other. We were playing with emoticons, amazing. Yes, and guessing movies, collaborative work. Yeah, that's a key expression we're going to use today. Well, so here's the thing. All the things that you're describing, they are connected with flow, okay? And it wasn't an accident. It was designed, maybe unconsciously, but it was designed, all right? Design nonetheless. Today, we're going to make that design intentional, all right? So let me present the theory of flow, all right? What I'm going to talk about is nothing new. It's not my creation. It's not something I'm going to sell. Mm-mm. It is something developed by Hungarian-American psychologist, and please, this is even difficult in English. His name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, okay? And he, in the 1970s, the 1980s, he wanted to understand what makes human beings deeply happy and productive, all right? So he studied artists, chess players, athletes. People seem to lose track of time, okay? So these people seem to enter a different mental state when they were at their best. What he found was a state he called flow, complete absorption in a meaningful, challenging activity. Time distorts, self consciousness disappears. The activity becomes its own reward. You're not thinking about what's for dinner or what you need to buy or to create your mental grocery list. No, you're just in it. You are focused on what you need to do. Does it sound familiar? It should, because some of our best lessons, the ones our students still talk about, those were flow lessons. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is to think about this question. Does my lesson design connect with my students' interests and needs? How well do we know our students? Is that important? Here's a truth that sounds obvious, but it's really easy to forget. You cannot design flow for students you don't know. The challenge skill balance depends on our knowledge of each learner, their interests, their anxieties, their learning histories. Without that knowledge, we are just guessing. And guessing is not a very good strategy in order to design, architecturally speaking, in class for flow. All right. So how do we foster flow in the classroom? Okay. Again, I'm not going to tell you to use or buy something specific. No, not really. It's just a matter of thinking, and we need to reflect on what really works in our classroom, depending to what our students' needs are. All right. Okay. This psychologist, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he identified what he called the flow channel. What is the flow channel? It's a sweet spot between two enemies of learning: anxiety, when you're too scared, when you don't know, and boredom, when something is too easy. If a task is too hard for a student's skill level, they feel anxious. They shut down, they disengage, all right? Think of the time you played a video game, all right? For example, Hollow Knight. The first time you play, you need to gain experience, you need to know the control, you need to know strategies. Can you imagine a situation where you're playing for the first time and they make you fight the final boss? How would you feel? You would totally rage quit, right? Because our brain would do that in order to survive. It's an instinct. We don't like it. We just disconnect, okay? And if a task is too easy, if a student has already mastered it, okay, if they are a player level 50 and they have to do something that is super easy, well, they will start looking at their phone, they mentally check out. You lose them, all right? And we don't want that. When the challenge matches the skill, when it's just above what a student can comfortably do, that's the channel, okay? That's where flow happens, and that's what we are designing for, okay? So how do we foster flow in the classroom? This is a diagram that attempts, okay, to reunite the elements that foster flow in the classroom. Okay, this is not something I copied from the internet. This is not something I copied from a book. All right, it is something that I put together as a Venn diagram, because whenever I have to study motivation and strategies that make students participate and collaborate, all right? I see these elements. So the first element I want to talk about is community in the classroom. Flow can be collective. When students share a goal, care about each other's success, and feel psychologically safe, the whole group can enter flow together. A low anxiety classroom isn't a soft goal, it's a necessity. All right. We want them to be happy, we want them to feel safe. All right. Another huge element is providing meaningful goals. Flow requires knowing what you're working toward. Vague instructions, when things are unclear, they create anxiety. Clear, achievable micro goals keep students oriented and motivated. They need to know what success looks like. Let's give them good examples. Let's give them models, all right? So they feel like this is achievable, it's within reach. And the last element I want to talk about is the challenge skill balance. This is the heart of Csikszentmihalyi's model. Our job as lesson designers is to keep recalibrating this balance. We need to adjust, okay, this balance across the lesson, across the month, across the semester, the year, because I know that you, my dear colleagues, work in different places, not only at schools, not only at universities, maybe also at places where you only get to be with your students 1 month, all right, or maybe 3 weeks, who knows. So it's important to know that the same material can work for everyone. We just need to remove or add support depending on the student. Think about training wheels on a bike. Some kids need these training wheels on a bike. It's their first time, they need to feel more confident. The training wheels will give them what they need in order to start riding the bike. Other kids don't need the training wheels. They feel okay with riding the bike by itself. And other kids want a special gear in order to try difficult and challenging tricks on their bikes. Okay, the same in class. Not all our students come with the same learning backgrounds. They will have different necessities. So we need to prepare worksheets, materials that will help them achieve their goals. Some of them will be highly basic or will give them the fundamentals of what we are teaching. Others will be up to the standard, and others will be more challenging. All right. So we need to be prepared and ready to provide what they need. That's the idea. Learner autonomy. This connects to what Csikszentmihalyi called the autotelic experience, when you do something for its own intrinsic reward, not for external prizes or fear of judgment or shame. That's the worst thing we can do in the classroom, shame, all right? Learners need to feel ownership. They need to engage more deeply, okay? And notice what sits at the center, at the heart, where all the three circles overlap. That's where flow lives. That's where what we're building toward. All right. Now, let's talk about something practical here. Tell me in the chat, tell me in the comments, how do you get to know your students? What are the things you do in order to get to know your students? Maybe it is at the beginning of the class, in the middle, right at the end, at the beginning of the year. How do you get to know your students? What questions do you ask? What materials do you use? I will read you. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. When they introduce themselves the first day of classes, we can have an idea. That's right. They may talk about their favorite food. They may talk about their favorite TV series at the moment, the movies in fashion, right? Later, we can confirm that's right. All the time, Sarita says, all the time. That's great. We can formatively assess what they like the whole time. We don't really have to do extensive research. It's just a matter of creating moments during our lessons in order to obtain this information casually, naturally, right? Like a warm up. That's right. A dynamic. Why do you want to learn English? That's amazing. We need to have clear goals in order to promote flow. And that's what I am going to talk about in a minute. Excellent. All of your ideas are beautiful. All right. So I want to add a few tools that I found particularly powerful because knowing your students isn't just a one time thing. It's not that you do once and you say, okay, I know them. No, we try. Yes, as Ricardo said, we try to know them, we try to confirm what they like, but it's a matter of paying attention, right? We need to listen to them, to actively listen to them. And it changes lesson by lesson, all right? So here's one idea. Maybe you have used this before. All right. They are called mood trackers in a scale of. I usually like to use guinea pigs or cats, dogs, llamas, capybaras, you name it. All right. Uh, Punch, the monkey, for example, is highly popular these days. I could use in a scale of Punch, how are you feeling today? No? Why is this useful? Because students can relate to the different moods they see. Some guinea pigs are happy, another is excited, another is daunted, confused. They realize that they are not only considered or seen as learners, but also as human beings. And that completely empowers them. We need to empower our students, all right? It's important that they know that we care. So even though this may seem funny, it's also strategic, okay? Because flow cannot happen under threat. It cannot happen under stress or anxiety. If a student walks in having just a horrible day, a fight, an argument, or whether they didn't sleep, or maybe if they were terrified of getting something wrong, they are not available for learning. They are not available for flow. The mood tracker is a micro ritual that does three things, my dear colleagues. First, it tells the students you see them as human beings, okay? Not just language learners. Second, it gives you real time emotional data because maybe a student A needs something nice because he feels exhausted. He needs a gentler challenge because he had a horrible day. No? Maybe a student B is super energetic and he's ready to be stretched out with knowledge. No? So well, we can use them as example, or he could be a volunteer later in class. Okay, so this is a simple playful checking at the start of every lesson. And it's one of the best practices I know. I highly recommend it. Okay. It takes 90 seconds and it changes the whole temperature of the room. Okay. So you could also use interest inventories at the start of the course, the music they like, what shows they like, huh? What do they dream of doing with English, like one of your colleagues said. Okay. This is very important because it fits into our lesson design for the rest of the time you have with them. Exit tickets are another brilliant tool. You can ask them what felt too easy today, too hard, what felt just right. That way, they are telling you the borders of their flow channel. Remember, flow will happen when something is not too easy and not too difficult. Okay, they are reporting that. The students will be reporting that. Now, let's talk about something I really, really love, which is playful learning. Yes, that's right, Hipólito. That's why warm-ups are very important. Never skip the warm-ups. Playful learning. This is the heart of it, okay? Csikszentmihalyi studied play extensively, and here's what he found. Play is the most natural flow state humans enter. Children don't need to be motivated to play. The activity is its own reward. They don't need grades or prizes, they just need the right conditions. Our job is to create those conditions in an educational setting without draining the life out of them in the process. All right? So, my question for you now is the following. How do we preserve the spirit of play in educational contexts? I know that it's relatively easier for us to play with little children, yeah, but we can also preserve the spirit of play with older students, with young adults, university students, with senior students. Those are the best, by the way. All right. How do we preserve the spirit of play in educational contexts? Please share in the chats. Collaborate, please. Collaborate with each other. How do we preserve this spirit of play? Nice, brain teasers. Who done it? Nice. Digital tools like Kahoot, Bamboozle, challenge them. That's right, Franco. Thank you. Yeah, inserting mini games. All right. So these answers, the answers that you are providing, my dear colleagues, they touch these three elements. All right. Meaningful choice, personal relevance, focus on growth, not grades. All right. Kahoot, Bamboozle. These games are very motivating because they are related with these three aspects. What is meaningful choice? Well, perceived control is one of the most powerful flow triggers. When people feel they have agency, when they choose their path, they invest more deeply. This is your choice board, all right? The learning outcome is fixed, okay? Let me show you. This learning outcome is fixed. A choice board is a simple tool you can create either on Genially, Canva, PowerPoint, Google Slides, you name it, okay? What's your favorite tool? Use that, okay? I'm not going to tell you which tool to use because you can basically create it any way you like. But the idea behind the choice board is that you have a learning outcome, which is to practice a topic, in this case, the second conditional, in order to achieve this goal. But students can choose different ways to do it. The students can choose different ways to practice this. That's the idea behind the choice board, okay? It's up to them to decide how they are going to achieve the goal. They could rewrite song lyrics, they might design a comic strip, they might role play scenarios with a partner. Same mountain, different routes. And here's what's beautiful. When students choose, they intuitively pick the task that matches their skill level and interests. It's not like you are forcing an activity onto them. No, they are going to choose the activity they feel comfortable with. And you don't have to guess. You don't have to guess what's right for them because they are going to help you do that. And it's not something that you're going to do in front of everybody. You have to do this, you have to do that. It's not like you are micromanaging your classroom. No, you are giving them that choice. And by choosing personally, they will feel comfortable. Imagine the kid with the training wheels on the bike. Imagine the kid riding the bike with a helmet. Imagine the kid riding a bike that can make tricks tricks. I don't know, right? So imagine that. Imagine that. We need to be ready for all of these possible paths that they need to take. Okay? And if you're feeling more adventurous, you can even let students propose a 10th option, their own creative task for the same outcome. That's autonomy in its fullest form. All right? Another aspect is personal relevance. That's right, yes, we need to allow creativity as well. Another aspect is personal relevance. Flow requires intrinsic motivation, and intrinsic motivation needs one ingredient above all: relevance. Students need to feel that what they are doing matters to their actual lives, connected, okay? Not just for a future exam. This is, for example, from Wordwall. Are you familiar with Wordwall? I think most of us are, right? We're English teachers. We need to get familiar with lots of tools. And this is something that we can find. This is something we can also create, modify, so it connects. It connects with our students. We could create questions like, have you ever ridden a horse in Cusco? Have you ever met a K-pop celebrity? Have you ever seen a ghost? Because students love talking about these supernatural topics, all right? This really works because it draws on students' real experiences, and language becomes a vehicle for authentic self-expression. They are not just performing for us. They are not doing the things we're asking them to do just because they have to. In this case, they want to. They are sharing actual stories, the human experience. Think about what they can learn from each other. Wow, what they can gain from each other. And here's a small but a powerful upgrade. Let students add their own questions, okay? When you are creating your spinner, have your students create the questions, and they will feel not only that they are important, but they are contributing with their own learning, okay? And that's highly motivating. All right. So remember, if they love Pokemon, if they love Hollow Knight, use them as examples, all right? That's how you're going to connect. You mentioned Kahoot, and now I want to mention, this was quizzes, but now it's not quizzes. Yes, the human part is important. What is this? This is now called Wayground. That's right, Elizabeth. Engagement fosters learning. This is Wayground. Wayground has this activity called Mastery Peak. I really like it. I even like it better than the other activities. Why? Because when students feel like what they do matters, that progress matters, it's less stressful than just getting a good grade, okay? Extrinsic rewards like grades, stars, prizes can actually interrupt flow when done incorrectly, okay? The moment the student shifts attention from the task to the reward, they exit this channel, the sweet spot between something being too boring and too stressful. No? We have to be careful. Mastery-based systems like this one reframe the question from did you get it right to how far have you come? I usually tell my students, come on, we are not letting anybody behind. We're not leaving anybody behind. You can do it. Go up. Come on, try again, try again. I want to see everybody on the top. And when you get to the top, you can get a screenshot of your students, well, your students' avatars on the top, all right? So that's the idea, that we focus more on progress than grades, than the points, okay? In ELT terms, this is why we say not yet instead of wrong. When a student provides answers in our lessons, we shouldn't say wrong or incorrect, right? That's demotivating. That creates shame. That is disrespectful. What we need to do is motivate them to feel okay with making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel like a beginner, okay? And not just for students, if you think about it, in any context, it's okay to make mistakes. And when you learn a language, it's part of the process of learning the language. So a student who tries a complex sentence and makes a mistake is farther along the flow channel than one who stays silent to avoid being wrong. Our feedback culture has to reflect that. We need to model that. We need to value every student participation, production, and evidence in the classroom. All right? One practical idea that I have seen in many colleagues of mine is that at the end of each unit, you can ask your students to write 3 things that they can do now that they couldn't do at the start. This is a simple ritual that makes growth visible. All right. And growth, remember, is intrinsically motivating. And intrinsic motivation is the best of the motivations. So I have some practical strategies for you, my dear colleagues. Okay, that's the idea. First of all, when you want to promote flow in your classroom, it's important to provide clear learning outcomes. Flow requires knowing what success looks like. If you provide vague goals, you create anxiety, and anxiety closes the flow channel. So before every activity, students need to know what they are doing. That's a classic when we're working in the classroom and they say, ¿qué hay que hacer? What do we have to do? What page is it? Or if instructions are too complicated, they are wasting their working memory on something that is not the point. All right. The idea is that they focus all their energy on what we want them to produce, on what we want them to create. Okay. So, not just today we're going to practice writing, but by the end of this task, you'll have written 3-second conditional sentences about a real decision you're facing. No? You'll share with a partner, specific, it's achievable, and it's meaningful. Another practical strategy is that we provide short instructions, visuals. Cognitive overload is the enemy of flow, my dear colleagues. Okay? They have nothing left for the actual learning when they are trying to decode what we want them to do. We need to provide short instructions, one task at a time, visuals that show rather than tell. That's easier, so they know exactly what to do. We can demonstrate the activity before asking students to do it. The faster they can get into the task, the faster they can enter flow. We can choose the student who chose the energetic guinea pig, for example, in the mood tracker for the demonstration. Another strategy is to provide microactivities every 5 to 7 minutes. Csikszentmihalyi observed that flow has natural rhythms. Attention shifts, energy moves. A single 45-minute task, even a great one, will lose most students somewhere around the 15-minute mark. If something is too boring, you will lose them. They will start checking TikTok. You right now, my dear colleagues, if you are with me, thank you. But if you are not, maybe it was because, I don't know, there were external factors or you are actually not engaged in this. I lost you. So that can happen in our class as well. We need to keep recalibrating the challenge. It also means that if one activity isn't landing for a particular student, a new one is coming in 5 minutes, so we have a new chance to engage them. All right? And again, the challenge skill balance. This is the ongoing work of teaching. Think about formative assessment. It's not a one-time decision. It's a constant calibration. Watch your students during activities. Who's flying through it? Too easy for them, maybe. No? They need an extension. Who's frozen? In that case, they need a scaffold, a model, a simpler entry point. Think of yourself not just as a lesson planner, but as a flow architect, reading the room and adjusting the challenge in real time. All right? So before I leave you with a final thought, because yes, I'm getting to the end of my presentation, my dear colleagues. Well, flow is not a destination. It is something you achieve. It's not something you achieve once and you said, okay, I'm done. No, it's a direction, it's a practice. It is something that we need to promote every lesson, every session, because that way we also have fun. We are teachers. If we are happy, if we have fun, our students are going to enjoy our lessons. All right. So remember, every lesson is information. Every lesson is a chance to recalibrate. So my final thought for you is that lesson design is like following a good recipe. Clear objectives, all right? The right challenge skill balance, and a pinch of creativity, your own personal teaching style will make the whole class unforgettable. Thank you so much for joining me on this workshop. And I'm all yours now. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Delia, thank you so much. That was amazing. I'm sure we all learned a lot. And I was looking at the comments and I learned a lot also from our audience, who's being absolutely amazing. I saw a lot of comments related to teaching in students with lyrics as well, using platforms like Suno. They are really great. If you want to post some questions, go ahead and do it. But I have a first question for you, which is how do you balance challenge and skill level in classrooms with mixed ability learners?
Oh, that's a very good question. Well, sometimes we see that as a problem. And nowadays, with more and more research and data on ELT, on EFL, uh, we have realized, and we need to realize, my dear colleagues, that mixed ability classes are a natural occurrence. It's not something that should be seen as a problem. All classes are mixed ability, okay? But my students are basic one. They are supposed to be basic one, but some of them know a lot already. Yes, because they had a specific learning background, right? And other students are maybe being exposed to the language for the first time, and that's also okay. We should teach for all of them. So in that case, if we need to balance the challenge skill, what we need to do is think about the example of the training wheels. We need to create materials, find materials online. We have so many tools with AI that will help us create the right materials in no time for these kind of students who need the fundamentals, students who need the standard, and students who need something extra, an extension, because they are already very good at that topic. All right, so that's the idea, that we prepare our repertoire, okay, of materials, worksheets, and tools for these students.
Amazing. I have another question, which says, how can teachers design lessons that promote flow when they have a very tight syllabus or limited time?
I think that's everybody's problem. Yes, I have the same problem when I have to design my lessons. But the idea is not thinking about having more time. The idea behind effective flow lessons is to design my lessons in a smarter way. All right, giving them these options, giving them materials that foster, trigger these scaffolds that they need in order to learn. So it's not a matter of spending more time with the students, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to achieve flow in any classroom. It would be impossible, because we all need to cover content. We all need to teach a certain amount of content each session. So the idea behind this is that we optimize the way we do it, the way we teach it, preparing materials in advance, for the students who finish fast, preparing materials for later, for students who need extra support. So they can do it outside the classroom, not necessarily in your teaching time and space. Okay, so it's important that we give them the right channels to practice and do it as well. Okay.
Great. I have a question from Franco who says,
Mhm.
how do we keep consistent with the level of activities proposed in class? I mean, how to keep track of students' advancements and how to gradually increase the difficulty of the challenges.
That's amazing, Franco. Well, by paying attention. How do we pay attention? Remember that there are two huge groups of assessment. One is summative assessment, one of the most popular forms of assessment. Exam testing is very summative. You give them a quiz and you grade it and you know what they need, right? But sometimes when we get this information, it is too late to do something, it is too late to help our students. So, what's better than summative assessment? Formative assessment, paying attention during the lesson, during the class, during the activity, okay, the way they produce, the errors they make. That's crucial information in order for us to decide how they are moving towards the goal, okay? And that will inform of the things we need to use in the classroom in order to help them. So that's the idea, that we pay attention the whole time, constantly. Yeah.
Great. One more question, which says that can playful learning still be effective with older students or adult learners? If so, how does it change?
Yes, it is effective. Sometimes it's hard to imagine a playful context because we think that playful learning is the same as being silly or being a clown in the class. But no, because I know that there are teachers that have different teaching styles. Some teachers could have a TED talk and uh, they would be so successful. They could even have a stand-up comedy series online and they would make a lot of money because I know teachers who are super, super funny. But you don't really need to be a clown or you don't really need to be silly, no, in order to achieve playful learning. Playful learning is a combination of ingredients. Remember, we need to give them choice, we need to give them clear objectives, we need to model the activity, all right, and especially to balance the challenge skill. That's it.
Great. I have one last question, but I encourage the audience to give us comments, more questions if you want. We still have a little bit of time. In the meantime, one last question that I have is what role does teacher mindset play in fostering flow and playful learning in the classroom?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
What role does teacher mindset play in
Ah,
fostering flow and playing and playful learning in the classroom?
all right, that's a wonderful question. Thank you very much, Martin. Sometimes we expect our students to know certain things. Sometimes we complain. I have done it. Okay, at the beginning of my teaching career, I have done it. I have said they should know this. They are advanced learners. Why? Why do I have to teach this again? But it's important that we don't expose our students to this kind of judgments. Okay, shame doesn't help fostering flow in the classroom. It's important that we help our learners according to what they need. If they don't know, it is okay. And we should be able to repeat what they need. We should be able to provide the tools they need in order to actually learn and acquire. If they don't know, it's not their fault. If they don't know, if they feel that they didn't learn or they are not good at the language, it's probably because they had a teacher that didn't motivate them. Okay, so we need to be the ones that foster growth. We need to have a growth mindset in the classroom if we want to achieve lessons with flow. Yeah.
Amazing, Delia. Thank you very much. I don't see more questions, so I guess we can stop now. I invite the audience to stretch your legs, take a glass of water, because we'll be back in 15 minutes with the next session. Thank you, Delia, so much again, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you very
Oh,
much. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.
bye bye.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. It's time to close the day. It's our last session of today. And today I have the pleasure to welcome Ani Salazar. Ani Salazar is an English language educator in Peru, has been a language educator in Peru for over 23 years. So she's got plenty of experience in English language teaching. She's dedicated, a dedicated person to promote meaningful, inclusive, and equitable English learning for students from diverse social, cultural, and educational backgrounds. She's the founder of English Teachers for Everybody, a professional learning community created to empower teachers and foster continuous professional growth. Annie has extensive experience in ELT methodology, educational projects, pedagogical resources, and assessment. She has also actively contributed to the development and implementation of the national curriculum in Peru and the national English policy, English Gateway to the World, back in 2014. That's when she was working at the Ministry of Education, also known as Minedu. She holds diplomas from Harvard Graduate School of Education and Claremont Graduate University from the USA. She holds 2 master's degrees and doctoral studies in education. She's currently a lead teacher in the Callao region and serves as General Director of International Institute for Research, Development, and Evaluation, known as INRED Peru. This is where she integrates teaching, academic leadership, management, and research. So welcome, Angie. The floor is yours.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing at ELT Peru 2026? I know that you are enjoying the event and learning a lot. Thank you so much for joining me today's session, and thank you, Ralph, for that lovely introduction. Thank you, British Council, for this great opportunity to share a part of my region with the world. And I'd like to know where you are connecting from. Please, um, you can write it on the chat so I can read it. Please, where are you from? Aha, yes, please. Aha, wow. Hello, hello, Mr. Cesar, Mr. Percy. Hello, everyone. Thank you to be with me from Lima. Amazing. Yes, Lima. I don't know anyone from Callao. Arequipa, excellent. Lima, great. Well, I am really excited to see all of you from Huancayo, from Piura, Tacna. Yes, great. From different part of our lovely country, Peru. Yes, from Trujillo. Excellent. Today is special meaningful, sincerely, because this is the first time we are bringing to an international stage a reality that we simply cannot ignore. We have an urgent need to transform our learning process in a public school into a real human and global experience, and also help our adolescents in front of a very hard context, all of that in a project. So today, I wanted to say hello to all of my friends, colleagues from Peru around the world. Okay, and I want to share this project with all of you. Okay, yes, Pedrito, Sarita, excellent. Ajá, Fiorella from Chiclayo, Huancayo, Urubamba, Cusco, Rosita. Great, thank you so much to join me today. Great. Chiclayo. Greeting from Chiclayo again. Yeah, nice. Do you know Salazar is my last name is from Chiclayo, so I feel very very nice today. Arequipa, excellent. Well, before I begin, I would like to invite you to watch a video, okay? Because this illustrates very clearly the context and the educational reality behind the project that I want to present to you today. And it will help us understand not only where this journey started, but also why net speaking became a bridge from the classroom to the world. Okay? Okay. I sent the link, so maybe you can help me to share that, please. Okay, we continue. Okay. Well, in the video that I wanted to project that, you can see something that happening in Callao region, and maybe it's possible that you can observe that in another countries and another regions too around Peru. Many of our students are growing up in the middle of very difficult social reality. They are exposed to violence, for example, robbery. Okay, this one. Okay. Um, Yes, kidnapping, for example, extortion, drug use, dealings. And in many cases, what happened with our students? They also face dysfunctional family and physical and emotional abuse. That is happening in my region, in Callao. I don't know if in your regions happening the same. So when adolescents grow up surrounded by these conditions, around this kind of violence, it becomes much harder for them to build life goals, believe in their own future, and develop a strong culture of respect, responsibility, and personal growth. So that is exactly where this project was born. The idea is to try to change our students to have another kind of goals in their life. So, net speaking, okay, it was designed to offer them motivation through learning, a sense of belonging, and a new way to see themselves as a capable, valuable, and connected to the world. So, through this project, students do not only practice English, they also begin to develop essential social emotional skills such as self regulation, empathy, conflict resolution. So, my idea is to try to resolve this kind of social problems when our students have to affront day by day difficulties around the city, around my region. Maybe it's the same as in your region. They have to learn respect, okay? They have to express themselves English or Spanish, but they have to express by themselves, but with confidence. And they have to participate in the society. So English is not just a subject or a discipline. I see English is the tool to connect societies and try to see what happened in our culture and our life and try to find a solution. So I wanted to ask you these three questions. In a world that increasingly demands proficiency in English, especially in an oral communication, our education system face serious barriers. I am talking about public schools, as my school in Bellavista, in Callao, that is strangled with limited hours of instruction and traditional methods. So, are traditional methodologies sufficient to overcome common barriers in such context? In a world demanding global communication, how can public schools, this is government schools, with limited English instruction time, for example, in my school we have just 3 hours per week. Maybe in your school you have the same. So, can we develop oral proficiency in our students even though we have limited time? Can technology truly bridge the gap between local classroom contrasting and the need for authentic global English interaction? Please, could you write your answers on the chat so I can read it? Let me know your answers. Are they possible or not? Mm. Mm, we have a lot of barriers, serious barriers. So for one side, we have problem in the society, and from the other side, we have limited time, limited hours of instruction. Yes. So what is net speaking? Because I wanted to share with you this great project. So net speaking is an innovative pedagogical strategy that connects a student with international peers through digital interaction. So in this case, I wanted to use the technology. Why we can use it? If I have just 3 hours in the school, why we can use other strategies? So this net speaking for me was my solution to involve my student in authentic oral communication with another people. It combined technology, global collaboration, and communicative language teaching. That is great, right? So students began to develop essential social, emotional, yes, skills such as self-regulation, empathy, and conflict resolution. So I wanted to invite you to follow me because native speaking is just one example of a project. But as an English teacher, we can apply different kind of projects, or maybe you can join to me this. The most important is thinking about what happened with our students. In front of all of these kind of problems, we have to make our students feel that it's necessary that they have to be involved as a solution because my students, I think that, I believe on that. My students, the students of all of us, are the solution. They have the solution in their hands. So this is like the proficiency gap for the project. My school name is Dora Mayer in Bellavista. We started with a clear proficiency gap with 22% of students at the beginning level in oral English communication. So that is a common challenge including poor pronunciation, limited vocabulary, low confidence, and difficulty in listening comprehension. So these difficulties were rooted in a low parental engagement, limited motivation, and obviously they don't manage strategies to learn. So in front of all of this problem, okay, I wanted to show you the solution. This is my visionary solution. Okay. To tackle this challenge, we introduced native speaking Dora Mayerino, a solution aimed at the authentic English communication through international students networks and at digital activities. So I think that it's very important to use not just only the technology, not only materials that are very common that the government can provide. I'm really sure that you feel as me that we don't have enough strategies, enough materials or resources in public schools. But what happened in another countries? What happened with our maybe another colleagues? So net speaking is starting with that, knocking the doors from different colleagues in another countries. So the idea is to um, connect another schools with our students and provide them authentic communication. In this way, the most important is encourage natural and fluid conversation. Miss, if my students are in basic level, how can we face them to authentic communication? It's because we can adapt it and adequate the content depending of the English level. For example, I remember my first DM talk is my first Zoom, international Zoom, with Ukrainian students. We presented Peru. My students prepare about Peru, for example, location, for example, the food, traditional places. What about our culture in generally? We are talking about soccer, different kind of facts about Peru. And I prepare in my classes the speech with my students. And then I invite my students to present that in a Zoom in front of Ukraine, in this case was Ukrainian students, and that was fantastic. So I used the digital empowerment. I use synchronic tools for real-time practice. So could you imagine that? To put our students in front of another student in another part of the world? My student was in this kind of interaction with India, uh, Philippines, Pakistan, students from Russia, Ukraine, and that was fantastic. The experience was amazing. So we have a global community now when we have to connect students with worldwide. Now my students have friends from around the world, and I want to invite you to join to our project if you want to practice English with this community. So what happened with the meaningful learning? Of course, we have a meaningful exchange. We have to promote, in this case, we promote Peruvian culture by dialogues. And sincerely, it is a meaningful learning and a great opportunity for our students to practice English in a meaningful way. Yes. Okay. Our project journey spans several key components, and I want to explain you so you can implement. Yes. Well, the first was the teacher empowerment. Obviously, we have to train teachers from this project, but mainly I think that it's important to train the teacher on working the interdisciplinary strategies. Because as an English teachers, okay, the idea is to prepare our students to say something about different kind of topics. For example, what happened with adolescents in the pandemic, what happened with the violence, what happened with healthy food, for example. So the teachers have to understand that English is just the tool, just the way that the students have to use to communicate. Okay. The second component is the parental engagement, raising awareness about the importance of English. Yes. The third component is the meaningful learning. So we have to design reflective, authentic learning experiences. So I am not talking about just lesson plans. I am talking about um, experience that can last for around 3 or 4 weeks. When the students can, at the beginning, um, see the text, manipulate context, and after that, the students can understand how the language is working, and then they can produce their own text using some models. And obviously, week by week, our students can show us they are progressing, show you a product. For example, we can manipulate text and they can, I don't know, maybe they can show you semantic maps or maybe an infograph. Okay. And then the students can record in their voice because they have to see if their pronunciation is good. What about the fluency? So it is a very good strategy to ask the students to record their voices. And in the class, in groups, they can listen each other. So they feel now confident in front of the things that they are learning. The fourth component is the student leadership, and I like in this part, sincerely. You can imagine how our students can change the way that they see the life when they are involved in projects. For one side, they can manipulate English. That is excellent for us because we are English teachers. We want our students to speak English very well. But for the other side is to for authentic people to affront different kind of problems. So something related with violence in my country now, extortion. Okay, that is another problem now in my country. So why my students can be involved in the solution of that? So this project give the keys to the students because the students empower uh, the project. They are responsible for different kind of activities and they lead another students because when you put our students in groups, they assume responsibilities, but also they feel that they have to project respectful for the others. So that is amazing when they are responsible for something. The fifth component is the interaction, online interaction. The name that we put this interaction is DM Talk. DM Talk is the Zooms, okay, the meeting Zooms that we have with the international students. So we organize real-time Zoom interaction with international peers and we activate different kind of tools. We can use Padlets or what about the breakout rooms when they have the opportunity to know each other. And then the students have uh, different kind of apps or maybe some online spaces like Google Classrooms, or maybe they can use some blogs, or what about Facebook? Okay, when they post what happened with the experience that they have in this kind of interactions. Uh, I wanted to tell you what happened with this data because in this I started with this. After just one academic year, we saw significant progress. 70% drop in students at the beginning level, and a 32% increase in students reaching the achieved level of an oral proficiency. You can imagine how happy Miss Annie was with this. Because year by year, my students wanted, sincerely, they didn't want to speak English in front of the people, in front of the class. Okay, so after this project, they feel confident to do it. We also measure the development of critical skills. 60% achievement actively involve students through practical tasks and collaboration, and a 40% achievement in promoting reasoning, creativity, and critical thinking. You know that critical thinking is very necessary to promote in our classes. But what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is when our student can give their opinions, but before of that, they have the opportunity to compare things. Okay, they have to contrast things. So in this project, the most important was when I presented the real problem in our community, in our region. And I asked them to my student to start investigate about the problem. One example is the extortion. Okay, that is very common now in our region. My students are starting find out on internet what happened with extortion, not only in Peru, in another countries. So when I ask them about extortion, now my students can give me their opinions because they investigate, but also have the opportunity to use some strategies, using, for example, semantic maps or maybe some charts when they can, for example, write their opinions, but main ideas of all the search that or all the search that they are doing on the internet. However, the impact was not only quantity, okay? Beyond the quantity of results, our project is grounded in a strong theoretical foundation. Social constructivism and Vygotsky's social culture theory established this one. Okay, according to Vygotsky, learning is fundamentally a social process. So, a student develops knowledge through interaction with others, especially through communication and collaboration. So, our project was grounded in a social constructivism pedagogy where learning occurred through interaction and collaboration. In the project, students began to express ideas more confidently, think critically, and support each other in the learning process. For that reason, it's important that you think with me if a project is necessary to implement in a school year. I show you how our students can change their mind when they implement a project. So language learning becomes meaningful when the students build knowledge together, for example, in groups, or when they are working with another groups, as this project. Because native speaking working not only with Peruvian students, I find or I am trying to find schools with another countries and promote this kind of Zoom meeting with students from Ukraine, from India, from another countries. So for that reason, my students can develop, or they develop, sorry, intercultural competencies when they respect each other, but also they can transmit our culture to the others, and the others transmit their culture. So my students can understand, and that is great. Okay. Well, one key factor behind the successful of native speaking was the strategy, the school management. First, we have to evaluate the learning progress. We have to foster respectful environment, and also we have to see the behaviors. Okay, I wanted to move in this part because the school invests in education resources, include, for example, computers, software for the English lab, because this native speaking was part of a contest. We received some invest, so we used that money to implement an English lab for the first time in my school. So we have now computers, labs, headphones, and we have a very nice lab. So these tools allow students to participate in digital interaction and personalized learning activities. So technology is very important and we can use them. Technology became a bridge for authentic communication and we have to use it. Okay. We have also the colloquial work. In Spanish, is like hora colegiada, right? That is another important element. Okay, so the collegial work among teachers, la hora colegiada entre maestros, that is a great space where we can create and share strategies, but also teachers reflect on the teaching practice and align pedagogical goals. If you can see the problems that you can find in your students, behavior problems, whatever kind of problems that you can find in your classroom, is the same to all of the teachers around the world. Okay, and what about if we can working together? So we can innovate together. We have here the democratic spaces, so the students have the opportunity to participate as a group. In this case, for example, now I have an English club when they can work in groups, talk and discuss about future projects. And in my school, with this project, we have a great lab. And in this physical place, our students have the opportunity to practice, to use different kind of materials and technology. And for another side, we have a pedagogical monitoring to ensure the quality and consistency of this next speaking methodology. And what about the family? The family have to be here. If I don't have the permissions, the opportunity that parents give to our students, this project can work. So we need the support of our family, the parents. As you can see, this is an international that's working right now. We have some countries and schools that are working with us, connecting Peruvian students with a diverse global community through synchronic digital interaction is a great way to make our students see their life in another way and to develop intercultural competences. What are the benefits of this project? Number one, we have a big impact. Okay, if we're talking about authentic materials and authentic context, obviously, okay, we have a real world English application. If we're talking about increasing motivation and confidence in our students, critical thinking and intercultural competence developed at most, and building sense of the global citizenship through cross-cultural dialogue. So the most important in this kind of project is the innovation, because the innovation is possible even with limited resources. Technology can enable global access and transform learning. Community engagement is crucial for a successful learning ecosystem and a student-centered approach that ensure sustainability and empowerment. So we plan to expand our international network and integrate AI power tools and share our native speaking model with other public schools. So for me, it's very important to see that the future of this project is big. So I wanted to invite all of you to connect it with us because the future of ELT is that it's connecting minds, building bridge. In every classroom, the most important is join together and try to create this kind of a space to let our students feel confident and they speak English and obviously transmit. What about transmit our culture? Okay, transmit what happened in our countries, what happened with them as an adolescent, and what about explore? Okay, different kinds of projects like this. So tell me now, have you ever had students line up speaking fluent English? Could you adapt this 3 hour model to your elementary context? Will your students enjoy becoming global ambassadors through weekly magic conversation? As an English teacher, could you transform the life of your students if they are around this kind of problems? So let me tell you that it's true. We can do many things with our students. The only thing is to working together and create this kind of environment and believe on them because their potential is big. You can imagine how can our students can work it if you just promote this kind of a space and projects. Thank you so much for listening to me. You can find me, yes, you can find me in different social medias on Facebook, like an English teacher for everybody, or maybe native speaking Dora Mayerino, that there are my pages there, or maybe on Instagram or Twitter. Thank you so much. Okay, okay. Any of you have any questions? Hello, perhaps.
Yes, I think it's time for questions. I would say there are a lot. I think that the audience has been very active and has been captivated by your presentation. I was going to say this is the magic of live streaming. You look like one person in the first half, and like another person now
Yes.
in the last minute, and now you're back. That's great. That's the magic of online production. So I think that while people make questions about the project, I was telling them a little bit of this while you were away, that this is an example of what happens at the British Council with projects in high risk areas, in areas of violence, in areas like the Middle East, where we have offices, we run projects there, and education is key, in reducing, as you mentioned, reducing the barriers to being part of a global world. I think that the opportunity that you're giving your students is amazing, really, to connect with people from other regions, connecting with schools in other contexts, exposing students to different cultures, different types of communication, different customs, etc. So I think it all, it all sounds very good. I'm sure there's been a lot of work behind all this, right? And I think it's a testament to your consistent work, to your resilience, and of course the support of the school has been very important, right? Um, Now I think that one of the first things I'd like you
I
to ask
think
before we go to the comments by the audience is, what were the biggest challenges to implement this project? Did you have any, like, roadblocks, closed doors? What were the challenges in general?
create a networking. Okay. So I wanted to say thank you, British Council, because I participate in an event like this. And I found a lot of teachers in this kind of events that you promote, the British Council promote. I started write on the chats the names of those teachers, and I asked them if they want to participate with me in this project. And I share my email address, and they accepted me. So now we have a networking based on friends. Okay, and that is sincerely, it's a great way to work with teachers who feel like me. No, they want that their students practice English, but they don't have uh, an scenario. They don't have a place where the students can practice a real English by necessity. Yes. One of the biggest challenge also was the students' initial lack of confidence. Okay, that is another problem if I am moving to the pedagogical area. Okay, how can I make my students speak English with international peers? So at the beginning, many students obviously felt nervous because they were afraid of making mistakes or not being understood. So to address this, we prepare them carefully because for me it's very important that the teachers have to elaborate very well the learning experience. These lessons that step by step let the student feel confident when they are using English. Yes. So the most important is to guided speaking activities, and we can provide them a vocabulary support, but also we have to provide a small group practice. Okay, and then when they are practicing in the classroom, well, I have a lab, so I using my lab. But if you don't have a lab, Now we have aulas de innovación, innovation labs, so you can use that too. And organize the breakout rooms and make your students practice English, but not only between them. You can working with the students from Peru or maybe from fifth graders, fourth graders, so you can combine graders and English levels also, no, with different kind of students. Okay, so for me, the most important is the two things: find the networking and make our students feel confident. Because when you see English, the majority of people see that English is difficult. But if you promote English as a real tool for communication, okay, they feel that it's true because they wanted to say something and they know some phrases and they remember that, so they apply all the things that they're learning during the class. So it's great, sincerely. When you put your students, it's totally, when you put students with another people that they are not their friends, it's great because they wanted to practice English. Yes.
Great, thank you. Now, of course, there's a natural concern among teachers
Yes.
about safety, security, safeguarding. So, how did you manage that? How did you, for example, protect the students? How did you protect students from having a bad time or having a safe a potential issue, you know, preventing, I don't know, anything from bullying to, I don't know, feeling attacked or feeling mistreated by the person on the other side of the world?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's great. Students' protection and positive behavior are essential in this project. That is one part that we're working a lot in the school. Uh, if you could see, our students are not the same that, I don't know, 30 years ago. They just act, they don't think before, no? And they can be unrespectful, yes. So something that we starting working is to promote the rules. So for that reason, I practice a lot before the connections, before these international interactions.
Hmm. And I
We
suppose
plan
that you
carefully and we
coordinate,
supervise
right?
the students. Yes,
And do you
yeah,
coordinate with the
yeah.
teachers on the
Before,
other side as well?
of, of course, we have, as I told you, my students prepare the meetings with the students and with the teachers from the other countries.
Okay.
For
So
that
there's a lot of
reason, they
teacher
know that it's very
supervision.
important the respect.
Hmm.
There are
Correct.
responsibility. As I told you, I believe in my students. I prefer to give them the opportunity to be responsible to do something. So they assume the responsibility to prepare all the activities in the project. So they are
Hmm.
responsible to plan the activities. They are responsible to organize the Zoom meeting, to send, for example, the emails to the teachers from the other countries, to send the letters. Okay, and also I have to talk with my parents. Okay, we have a lot of meetings with the parents, and they know that obviously the adolescents, okay, are very playful, but when they are involved in this kind of activities, they change the way that they think, and the parents say that, no, they said at the end of the school year. I remember one of the mother uh, told me, "Thank you, Miss Annie, because now my son wants to study English more. They wanted to pay a language center, but they wanted to be a person to change the sociality. They see that there are a lot of problems around and they want to do something. And for that reason, they see that connect people can be a way to transmit the problems in our country. And that was amazing for me when I see not only the students, maybe my colleagues in the school, but also in my another teachers from Callao. And we see that if education is the key, why we can apply projects quite similar of this, but the most important, I think, is working together. For the reason I wanted to be here because I want to invite more teachers to join to my project and be part of this because I want my students show this to another student and try to continue working with these kind of things, changing mind, changing behaviors, and
Hmm.
obviously create another kind of sociality. Yes,
That's amazing. That's a very interesting, nice comment.
yes,
I am a firm believer that education is a tool to make a better world. Definitely, I think that most teachers in the audience will agree that. And I think that you've covered all the different corners. And as you progress in your project, you will also be learning from lessons that you are, you know, collecting, and that the project will become stronger and stronger every day. So I think that on behalf of the teachers that are present, I think that they will be happy to join your network. Now your contact details were in the, you know, at the end of your presentation, so feel free to contact Annie. Think that this is one of those projects where connecting people with the globe, with the global world, opens minds. Right? It's not education within a constrained, the constraint of the school or the constraint of the country, not even the country, you know, the constraint of the city, the region, you know, the neighborhood, but it opens minds, it opens opportunities to different cultures around the world. That's amazing. Yes, it's, somebody says it's educating the next generation. That's true. We are preparing students for next gen, what they say, right? Youth, and it's something that we can call it youth connect, right? How we connect young people around the world. So I think that it's
yes,
a
yes.
great pleasure to accompany you in this project. Is there anything else you want to do?
No, just say that this journey isn't just about teaching a language. Okay, so I think that it's about connecting minds. Okay, is fostering respect and building a more interconnected world.
Exactly.
Create global citizens. Okay, and that is the most important. Prepare our students from the things that will happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ralph, and thank you all my colleagues and friends that are joining us today too. Thank you.
Before we go, I don't want to let you go because this is very interesting.
You know,
What
yeah.
feedback did you get from the school authorities?
Don't worry.
What feedback did you get from the school authorities?
Sorry. That
What feedback did you get from the school authorities? Did you have any? Have you had any reactions from them, from the authorities? Maybe the DREL, the school director.
yes. Okay. When I started working with, for example, with my region, I have the support of my specialist here in Callao. Um, but I think that the main problem is the people who help you. Okay, so basing on my experience, I will encourage education authorities to continue supporting innovating projects that promote this kind of communication in English. Okay, I remember in Callao, I don't know, was in 2010, the authorities started a bilingual project, but it lasts just 1 or 2 years, no more. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the change of the authorities, changed the project. But that doesn't stop our region because we wanted to continue promoting English in our region. Callao is near to the port, okay? We have the airport too. So English is very, very important here. So in many public schools, students have limited time to practice English. That is the problem. But if we have our authorities, we have our specialists in the region and the principals, okay, and the leaders, the leader teachers, we can work in together and change this kind of situation. So initiatives that integrate technology, global interaction, and communicative methodologies can significantly improve learning outcomes. So I believe that the most important is have this kind of a space, like British Council provide all of the teachers, and thank you so much for this opportunity, because my colleagues can understand what happened in this region, but also they can implement project like this. So one big recommendation is try please to provide schools with adequate technology, resources, and institutional support. British Council is one of the best institutions to help us, help the teachers, for example, with training courses, and that is great. Teacher, please, we have to continue innovate strategies in a sustainable way. Okay, I think that is very important because when teachers receive a right support and opportunities for innovate, classroom can become a space where students can most important is to continue working, please. Continue working and see your students and what things they need. And depending on the students' needs, you have to provide a special content and activities to make them feel confident and also engage in this learning process. Remember, language, English is just culture, and the culture change depending on the sociality. So we can sit in our chairs. We have to stand up and working together. Okay, and if you want to working with me, just send me a message and we can have this kind of connection. And Miss Annie will very, very happy to working with all of you. Okay?
Thank you, Annie.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have to leave for the day. We have to all go to a well-deserved rest. Um, it's a little bit sad because tomorrow will be our last day at the ELT week. I invite all of you to be present tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 4 wonderful sessions, and we will all receive instructions to in order to get your certificates. Right, there's some conditions to meet, but I'm sure you will comply with them. If anybody has missed any recording, any sessions, remember that you can go directly to YouTube, go to British Council Peru, and find ELT Week 2026, and you have a complete playlist of all the sessions that we've had this week. Sadly, tomorrow is our last day, but I think that it's been a great pleasure to be here with you and enjoy, this 60 minute with you and the rest of the audience. Thank you very much, and hope to see you tomorrow back in the ELT Week Peru. Bye bye.
See you.